Hello YouTube, I'm Peggy Lu and this is my new BookTube channel, Peggy Lu Who Reads, or Peggy Lu Who Reads. I am starting this BookTube channel today. This is my very first video. Welcome. Hopefully I don't fuck it up. So diving right in and introducing myself, I am 43 years old. I'm from Oakland, California. I will be 44 later this month. And yes, I was raised by sailors. Literally, my parents, both my mom and my dad, were sailors in the United States Navy. And so, yeah, I come by my foul mouth naturally. So I doubt that this series is going to be very safe for work or very kid-friendly. I'm just going to throw it out there now. What else about me? Oh, I'm an avid book reader. So obviously that would be a prerequisite to starting a YouTube channel that's all about books, one would hope. Why am I doing this? Funny you should ask. For some reason, I just spent the last 14 months or so of 2020, 2021 in my house, mostly alone, reading books and watching YouTube. So throughout this whole panorama or pizza party or whatever you want to call it, that is not the P word that apparently no one can say on YouTube, I have been reading more books than I normally would as an adult, and I've also been consuming mass quantities of YouTube because I enjoy YouTube. A few years ago, I started a vlog and I recorded some videos, and ultimately I ended up shutting that down and making them private. But I decided that I really wanted to get into this again because of some of the content that I was seeing. And so I actually, if you go back to Peggy Lu Who, which is I guess my main channel or whatever, I went ahead and made the two videos that I previously did that were book reviews. I made them public again. So if you want to go back and see what I look like several years ago doing something similar to this when I had no clue, not that I have a clue now, but they're there and you can go check that out if that's something that you're interested in. But fast forward to now, I have been sitting, like I said, consuming YouTube and reading lots of books, and eventually somehow ended up in BookTube land on YouTube. And there are several creators that I've followed, several different booktubers, and I became intrigued and I consumed so much of their content. And through consuming that content, I really thought like, hey, that looks like fun. And I could do it for fun, and we'll see what happens. I am a person with a full-time job. I am single and I live alone. I don't have roommates or a family that I live with, so everything in my life is just me. So taking care of my home, taking care of myself, getting myself paid, it's all on me. It's always my turn to take out the garbage. So I don't have a lot of time to really devote full time to reading or creating BookTube videos. And if I think like that I tried to do a schedule that was like 3 times a week I'm going to post a video, when would I read? When would I read? I would pretty much just be making videos and editing videos all the time, and that would completely defeat the purpose. So for now, I think I'm just going to try and do at least a to be read at the beginning of the month, and I'm planning on doing that in the next day or so for the month of May, even though we're already 7 or 8 days into May, and then a wrap up at the end of the month. And then I may do deep dives into a specific book that I read if I feel like I have enough to say about it to warrant or justify having an entire video about a specific book. And I may do some tags here and there. In particular, a lot of the YouTubers, the booktubers that I've been watching, I've seen do the anti-TBR tag. And so if you're new to BookTube like I am, TBR stands for to be read. So an anti-TBR would be books that you have no plan on reading. And that looks like a lot of fun, and I want to do it. That's part of the reason why I'm here, because I've been watching all of these great booktubers do all these videos and going, I want to do that. I want to talk about my books. So here we are. My inspirations, I would like to give credit to these people who've really inspired me to be here. So this all started mostly with me finding the channels of two, they're not specifically booktubers because they do a lot of videos that aren't necessarily like the typical booktube content of like, here's a book I got, here's a book I'm gonna read, here's a book I read. But they would be Lindsay Ellis, who does a lot of many different types of videos, and she's also an author. But a lot of her books, or a lot of her videos are about books. As an author, that makes sense. And then also Dominic Noble, who does a series called Lost in Adaptation. And Lost in Adaptation deals with movies that were adapted from books and whether or not the movie is faithful to the original source material. And so he goes into detail about what the plot of the book was, what the plot of the movie was, what they kept from the book, what they left out from the book, what they added into the movie that wasn't in the book, etc. And he's just really funny and amazing. And I love adaptations, and so I devoured all of his content basically, except for a couple of videos that I intentionally skipped because I either hadn't read the book or hadn't seen the movie yet, and so I have skipped those, and we'll come back to those later because I want to see or read the book first. So other content creators, booktubers that I've gotten into since I sort of discovered BookTube is Bowties and Books, which is Jessie. Chronicles of Noria, I love Noria, she's freaking hilarious. Books with Emily Fox, Noelle Gallagher, Reva Cindy. I think Cindy is also in the Bay Area, she's in Oakland, I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think I actually know her in real life or have met her, so that's funny. Jess Owens, and a few others. I'm going to add links to their channels in the description just because I'm probably going to go out and make my family and my friends who've never heard of BookTube watch this video. I'm probably going to beg and guilt everyone I know into watching this. So if you're just here because you know Peggy Lu and you're like, what the heck is BookTube? I want to add some examples of some people that are doing it right as opposed to my lame ass. So yeah, so here we are. And so that is why I'm doing this. Let's see what, and I covered what I'm planning on doing as far as cadence of videos and whatnot. I think I should also explain what kind of books I like. So my favorite genres are fantasy, sci-fi, historical fiction, a little bit of poetry, and some nonfiction, primarily biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, and history. So I'll probably be covering a variety of those types of books here on BookTube. And one other category of books that I read is smut. And frankly, I don't think anyone is interested in listening to me talk about smut. Mostly because, like, if I were to do a review of some of the smut novels that I've read and that I continue to read, every single one of those videos would be exactly the same. Like, I read this book, I read it in like 3 hours because it's not really, you know, challenging read. There's a plot that, like, really, who cares? There is a protagonist who is problematic, and her love interest is problematic, and they had a lot of fun naked times, and some of that was problematic, but some of it was awesome or not, and 2 out of 5 stars. That's it. That's my review of every erotic novel that I've ever read. So, yeah, there you go. But I will be talking about some of my other reads in the fantasy, sci-fi, historical fiction, history, autobiography, memoir, biography categories. How do I consume books? So I have a small book collection. The size of my book collection over the years has waxed and waned, and depending on my life situation, and depending on my sort of different philosophies on money. So sometimes I feel like I don't want to be just buying, and acquiring stuff. And so I've relied heavily on the library, and I'm fortunate living in Oakland. Oakland Public Library is amazing. And through the pizza party, I have been able to check out books for my e-reader through the library, so that has been amazing. And they've recently reopened to in-person pickup, so I'm going to start doing that again, I believe. And so I do have an e-reader, and when I first got the e-reader, I just thought like, oh, this is great. I never have to run out of room on my shelves ever again, and I can have this and I can take it with me, and everywhere I go I could have every book I own, or almost every book I own. I could just have it with me everywhere in just this one little light little thing, and it's amazing. And of course the e-reader that I have is a Kindle, and I go back and forth about how I feel about giving my hard-earned money to Amazon because they have more than enough money. They don't need any more of mine. But it's so damn convenient. So there's that, and sometimes I buy a bunch of books. I buy used books. I try to buy used books because I am not entirely made of money, but then I also make impulse purchases. There's been a ton of times that I have picked up books in airports, which is like probably the most expensive books you could buy because you're a captive audience and you're bored. So yeah, my book collecting and book reading, all of the material I read is coming from many different sources. I have physical books, I have ebooks I check out from the library. I'm just getting started using audiobooks or listening to audiobooks. I finally was able to, and I'm ashamed to admit this, to finally finish Moby Dick by listening to it on audiobook that I checked out from the Oakland Public Library, because I struggled with that book for years. I always tell people it's like chapter 60 is my white whale, because that's the chapter of Moby Dick that's like an entire chapter about knots and rope, and I just could not get through it. So yeah, I'm new to audiobooks, and I really like it because I like that I can listen to a book while I'm doing other things. And like I said, I live alone. I have to take care of my whole life myself. It's never someone else's turn to cook dinner or wash the dishes or take out the trash. And so when I do those things, I can also be listening to a book, and I really like that. So I'm delving into that more and trying it out. I feel like there's certain books that lend themselves more to listening to as opposed to reading, and so I'm trying to figure out where that sweet spot is. Another thing you should know about me is I'm a really slow reader. If I don't read really slowly, I don't retain it, and then I just end up like getting 2 chapters, read, and can't remember the last 2 chapters that I read. So, and then I end up having to go back and reread the same chapters, the same pages, the same book over and over and over again. So I try and slow myself down. It helps me to remember it better, but I don't just fly through books. The only books I fly through are smut, where it's probably best if I don't remember those anyway. And so, by the way, I don't know, like maybe it's offensive that I'm calling it smut. Like I say that with no judgment. Like if you're also into erotica, like welcome, you're amongst friends. I just think it's funny. And so I'm sort of taking the piss for myself, but hopefully it's not offensive. If it is, please let me know, and I'll stop doing it. So yeah, also, yeah, I'm from Oakland, California, so I'm totally like a little bit of a social justice warrior. Like, and when I say a little bit of a social justice warrior, I mean, I'm completely a social justice warrior. So If you're not interested in those opinions, they will be part of my thoughts on books and things. And so if that's not your jam, see ya. It was nice to meet you. Have a nice life. I'm not trying to cause arguments. I'm not trying to get in arguments. I'm just trying to read books and talk to other people that read books about the books that we love and don't. So yeah. I am going to, hopefully in the next day or two, do the May TBR video. I have a stack of books that I've already started on that I'm planning on reading this month. Like I said, I'm not committing to anything. I probably will do the anti-TBR tag just because it looks like so much fun. And I may do, if I get around to it, a haul video, but only because it's my birth month, so I've sort of given myself permission, which is ridiculous because I'm 44 years old. Who do I have to give myself permission? But I've given myself a little bit of leeway with my regular budget to buy more books, and so I may do an unhaul. I recently started subscribing to Book of the Month after thinking about it for a while, and so if you have also thought about subscribing to Book of the Month and haven't done it yet, I will put my referral link in the description. This is not a sponsored video by any stretch of the imagination, but I will use the little refer a friend link in the description. If you have been thinking about subscribing or want to check it out, please click that link. I think that I get some benefit or something from referring people. So that would be cool. And yeah, so I might do a little haul video just because I've gone off the deep end and bought about 10 books recently. And let's see, what else do I need to say or do to wrap this up? Oh, I also have a bookstagram that I started, and I've actually been doing a pretty good job of posting on there almost daily, so I'll include that link and my Goodreads so that you can follow me or add me as a friend and see where I am on my reading journey. And my reading challenge for 2021 is just 30 books, and I have completed 17 so far this year. Again, I am a really slow reader. 30 books is a lot for me. We'll see what happens. Also, for 2021, I decided what I would really love to do is read all of my favorite books sprinkled out throughout the year. So I already read one, so I may do a video about that book and why it's one of my favorites and why it's on my favorites shelf. But I will probably be sprinkling those through with my TBRs and whatnot, and I'll highlight them as they come up, or if I read a new book that I decide needs to be on my favorite books shelf, I will also call that out. I think that's it for now. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming along on this journey with me, and if you think you want to hear more about it, hit subscribe. And there's like the little bell thing that tells you how often you get notified if I post new things. Follow me on Instagram, send me a direct message, add a comment below. So since this is a shiny new channel, maybe like put a shiny ribbon emoji in the comments below if you made it this far, because I guess that's a thing that we're doing on YouTube. And read well.